Episode 6. Why are these here? Why do men have nipples? That's an excellent question. Obviously, we don't need them to do what women need them for, so why exactly are they here? Well, we're going to find out the answer today. I actually knew the answer to this. I think I knew the answer to this. Someone actually brought this up and asked, and I knew it, but I can't remember it. So we're going to relearn it again together. So, the quick answer to why men have nipples. Let us ask the almighty Google for this. Why do men have nipples? Scientific America. Well, if you need to trust in anyone, Scientific America would be a good one to trust. So this is a professor of biology at Carleton University in Ottawa, Ontario. And you can always trust the Canadians, so let's see how long this thing is. I don't want to read it. Oh, this isn't too long. Okay. I'm going to read this whole entire thing. So this is pretty much going to be the episode. This is probably really boring to you. But here's the answer to that question that you have wanted to know, which is why we have nipples. Like all why queries, the question of why men have nipples can be addressed on many levels. My 4-year-old daughter, always suspicious of a trick when asked such obvious questions, answered, because they grow them. In search of the trick answer, she quickly added that chest would also look pretty funny with just hair. That's a smart 4-year-old. Evolutionary biologists, whose job it is to explain variety in nature, are often expected to provide adaptive explanations for such why questions. Some traits may prove, though appropriate tests, to be explained as adaptations. Others have perfectly good evolutionary, non-adaptive explanations. This is because evolution is a process constrained by many factors including history, chance, and the mechanisms of heredity, which also explain why particular attributes of organisms are not as they would have been designed from scratch. Nipples in a male mammals illustrate a constrained evolutionary result. Probably didn't make any sense to you, it didn't make any sense to me. I'd have to reread it again to make sense of that, but we're just going to keep going on because I'm sure this guy will make it seem more clear. A human baby inherits one copy of every gene from his or her father and one copy of every gene from his or her mother. That's common sense stuff. Inherited traits of a boy should thus be a combination of traits from both parents. Thus, from a genetic perspective, the question should be turned around. How can males and females ever diverge if genes from both parents are inherited? We know that consistent differences between male and female, so-called sexual dimorphism, are common. Examples include bird plumage colors, and size dimorphism in insects. I'm texting you, so don't get pissed off. Are common, including blah blah blah. Okay. The only way such differences can evolve is if the same trait, color for example, in males and females has become uncoupled at the genetic level. This happens if a trait is influenced by different genes in males and females, if it is under control of genes located on a sex chromosome, or if gene expression has evolved to be dependent on context, whether genes find themselves within a male or female genome. The idea of the shared genetic basis of two traits, in this case in males and females, is known as a genetic correlation, and it is a quantity routinely measured by evolutionary geneticists. The evolutionary default is for males and females to share characteristics through genetic correlations. Oh boy. The uncoupling of male and female traits occurs if there is a selection for it, if the trait is important to the reproductive success of both male and females, but the best or optimal trait is different for a male and female. We would not expect such an uncoupling if the attribute is important in both sexes and the optimal value is similar in both sexes, nor would we expect uncoupling to evolve if the attribute is important to one sex but unimportant to the other. The latter is the case for nipples. There is an advantage in females. The term is reproductive success is clear. But because the genetic default is for males and females to share characteristics, the presence of nipples in males is possibly explained as a genetic correlation that persists through lack of selection against them rather than selection for them. Interestingly, though, it could be argued that the occurrence of problems associated with the male nipples, such as carcinoma, constitutes contemporary selection against them. In a sense, male nipples are analogous to vestigial structures, such as the remnants of useless pelvic bones in whales. As they did much harm, they would have disappeared. In a now famous paper, Stephen J. Gould and Richard C. Lewitton emphasizes that we should not immediately assume that every trait has an adaptive explanation. Just as the spandrels of St. Mark's domed cathedral in Venice are simply an architectural consequence of the meaning of a vaulted ceiling with its supported pillars. The presence of nipples in male mammals is a genetic architectural byproduct of nipples in females. So why don't men have nipples? Because the females do. What this means, I might have to look up another one, but what this means basically is, while nipples have a function when it comes to males, or females, it's one of those traits that evolution has decided it isn't necessary for a male not to have. So we have them. And then I'm reading this one down here right now. Copra Girl. A lot of people think that we all start out as females and then we either develop into males or we stay as females. We could go under that whole route if we wanted to, but according to this thing, because females have nipples, and most of the time animals from the female and male side tend to try to mirror one another, we have nipples. They're completely useless for us, they're just there, but we have them. So I'll read a couple comments and see if maybe something different comes up. So, when the fetus pituitary develops an estriol, can convert to testosterone than a male character means. So, had there been no testosterone, the child would probably be a hermaphrodite. However, all humans have both estrogen and testosterone, so this is really a problem. Same chemical FSH, or follicle-stimulating hormone, plus secondary sex hormone. Now, the conversion to primarily testosterone is what causes the male characteristic. But basically, most animals have nipples of some, or most mammals have nipples of some sort. So, anyways, basically that's the reason why we have nipples for this rather short episode again. If you're interested in more, really easy to look up stuff on that, but basically going back to this thing again, all men are born with nipples because we were once a girl in the fetus. Does this mean that straight guys are gay transsexuals and gay guys are straight? Oh, I shouldn't have read that. Now I'm fucking confused, but basically, in a nutshell, they're just there. You know, they're just there. They have no purpose. They have no meaning, and they're just waste of space. But anyway, so this was episode 6 about why do men have nipples, and I will see you in episode 7 when we talk about Spencer's and Hot Topic. So that will be our next one. Anyways, and that's our last one. So that'll be intense. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this rather short one. I hope that answers your question, and I will see you next episode. Toodaloo!